I was born the year that Pastor Tony came on staff as
Wow.
the kids pastor, and it's been a long time, and I'm so thankful to have grown up with his supervision and all the leaders of this church. It's been a big blessing in my life.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Alongside Podcast, which is a production of Heritage Baptist Church. The purpose of this podcast is to come alongside followers of Christ in order to have thoughtful conversations about the gospel, culture, and the church. I'm your host, Mike Crump, and today I'm excited to welcome Chelsea Barnwell to the microphone. Chelsea has currently come on staff as our Kids Ministry Volunteer Coordinator, and while she is new to staff, she is definitely not new to Heritage. Chelsea, welcome to Alongside. Glad to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been a little while since we've had kind of a new staff member on, or even just a staff member to talk about their life and about their testimony and then kind of share with what they're doing. So I'm very excited about that. So let's just kind of start at the beginning, which is a great place to begin. I mentioned you were not new to Heritage. You've been basically at Heritage since you were a wee one.
Yes.
Yeah.
My parents were attending Heritage before I was born.
Okay.
And I was born the year that Pastor Tony came on staff as
Wow.
the kids pastor. And so, yeah, it's been a long time, and I'm so thankful to have grown up with his supervision and all the leaders of this church. It's been a big blessing in my life.
That's awesome. Well, that's, man, Tony, he just went to part-time here at the church, and he has just kind of been a staple at Heritage for a while. And so to kind of come in underneath that, that's exciting.
Yes, and also to be working with him closely on the kids ministry team now is a really exciting aspect, kind of coming full circle.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So now, have you always lived in Lynchburg? Are you guys like...
My parents are not from Lynchburg, but they came to Liberty and have pretty much stayed.
Okay.
And so me and my siblings growing up, we have always lived in Lynchburg, though.
Okay.
So for me, this is definitely home.
This is definitely home. Grown up here, kind of seen all the change over the years.
Yes.
As everything it's changed in the 8 years we've been here.
Right.
So I can imagine you've seen quite a bit.
Right. It's kind of interesting. I can even walk through the church, and I'm maybe a little more nostalgic than most people,
Yeah.
but it's almost like X-ray vision. Like I can picture when the conference room used to be a preschool classroom and I was in
wow.
it, or
Yeah.
just different things. It's a really neat way to see the church and see the legacy.
Yeah. Now, when you were a baby, you probably don't remember much of that, but where were people meeting at that time? Was it still the chapel, or had it gone to the gym?
At that point, meeting for worship was in the gym, I believe, or at least when I was old enough to start attending, like on Sunday nights.
Gotcha.
When
Yeah.
I was about 5, I think, that was in the gym where we met for worship. So most of my growing up years, worship was in the gym, or at least big church was in gym. And then, Sunday school was under the chapel,
Okay.
from what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is now
nursery.
and you are down there often.
Yes.
So we'll get to that here in a little bit, but share with us your kind of journey to know Christ and how he drew you to himself and that testimony.
Yes. I was quite young. I was around 9 or 10 when I came to know the Lord. I do remember that day, some of the thoughts and feelings I was having, and questions I was asking my mom about heaven and about salvation and knowing Christ. And so I do remember some of that wrestling, and then late at night, kind of after I had gone to bed, feeling like I need to pray. I need to ask God for this and ask for his forgiveness and commit to follow him. I don't remember a lot of what necessarily led up to that in the days or weeks before, but I do know that the kids ministry at Heritage, and then later the youth ministry, and just in general service, did have a huge impact on my spiritual life. for me personally, as well as for my family.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very thankful for that.
That's awesome. And I think that's a testimony to, one, the longevity of ministry here at Heritage and the consistency in that, and also with your parents bringing you and having that stable kind of Christ-centered, biblical focus. As kids, and I've used this illustration before, but we can't make our kids believe. You can't make your kids believe, but you can put the logs on the fire and wait for the Lord to ignite that. And so just that steady diet of hearing about Christ and those things. And I love how the Lord just kind of stirred your heart to get to that point.
Absolutely. And also seeing my parents and family serving in the church as well. Their involvement. So they did bring me to church faithfully, but then they were also serving in the church. And I think that has a big impact too.
Yeah. And still serving in the church. So, which is awesome. So from there, you come to know Christ, you confess him as your Savior. What's your kind of discipleship journey look like on into high school and so on? Were there moments that you kind of saw the Lord work, or that kind of transformed how you viewed the Scriptures or Christ?
Yes. Pastor Kent was the youth pastor when I was a teen in youth group, and I was definitely impacted by his teaching. I also had a few small group leaders that were ladies on the Wednesday nights that also had a big impact in my life. I tend to be a more intellectual person, so I really get a lot out of just direct lecture teaching.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's different for different people, but for me, like that has a big impact.
Yeah.
Just hearing and being inspired and being pointed back to God's word, and then also being encouraged then in my personal walk to make like quiet time a priority, to make serving a priority, to make sharing my faith with others a priority. That was something that was really hard for me in high school, and I don't feel like I really did that as much as I should have, but it was something even in high school that I kind of the seeds of pushing me towards that. And then it was later into more college years where I felt more comfortable in that area and found different ways of practicing it and different ways to get support to do that.
Yeah. Awesome. So you went through the youth group with, Pastor Ken at the helm there. Did you go on any of the trips that they would do, any of the mission trips or anything of that nature?
Yes, I did. I went on 2 short-term trips. One was local, and that was a great experience because it actually turned into long-term ministry.
Oh, wow.
So we went on a local trip, and then with my mom's help and then some of the teens that went on the trip, we ended up starting like a monthly Bible club at one of the apartment complexes we'd ministered to.
Yeah.
And that went on for several years, I think 6 or 7 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that had a huge impact in my life. I also went one overseas trip to South Korea. That was an excellent experience to learning about different culture. I also helped. I did Word of Life camp. I went to Word of Life camp. I also helped at Grace Bible Camp as a junior counselor during high school. I was involved in, they had puppet ministry back then. So I learned puppet ministry through youth group and then was able to serve the children with it. So yeah, I was involved in a lot of the things they had to offer at that time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. And I love that you, and I think it's, again, a testimony of kind of seeing your parents involved, and your family involved, and then you getting involved in all these different aspects. And of course, Grace Bible Camp being just one of the most awesome places on earth.
Yes. Best place on earth.
Yes, exactly. Love it so much. So as you continue to grow up, young adults, what are you obviously still involved at the church and still doing things? You still traveling overseas or doing anything of that nature?
I am not currently. I actually lived overseas for 2 years in Mexico after college.
Yeah.
That was another really big formative thing in my life.
Yeah. So what took you there?
I had since high school, I'd had a desire to go overseas in a missional way, in a cross-cultural ministry way.
Yeah.
And I looked for kind of like a midterm assignment, I guess, 1 or 2 years to kind of experience it, see what it would be like, consider if I could do it long term. So a door opened for me to be a third grade teacher in a school in Mexico, and I took it. And it was very challenging, but it was a really good experience overall. And then I came back to the States to live. I've been back in Lynchburg 6 years now. So the doors have kind of closed for me towards going overseas in a long-term capacity at this point. But I'm learning to trust the Lord in that, and I'm even thankful for the opportunity of this job coming up, which wouldn't have really been on my radar until a few weeks before I was hired, kind of thing. So just his faithfulness in that, even though maybe my initial desires or plans for my life in high school didn't pan out as I had expected.
It's amazing how the Lord does that, right? He does that. So let's talk about that transition. You was it just that you happened upon kind of the promotion that, hey, this position is out there, and you just decided to jump on it?
Yeah. So I had been teaching at a classical school in Lynchburg, as I said, for 6 years, and I had to let them know back in February if I was returning for the new school year. And I was absolutely terrified to turn down a job without having another one lined up. So that was a huge step of faith. But again, the Lord just really made clear, like he had made clear that at this time I wasn't to pursue going overseas.
Gotcha.
Long term, also that I was also free to not renew my contract, to look for a different job, different career, really.
Yeah.
I was looking to do something other than teaching for a time. And he was really faithful. It took a little while before this job came on my radar, but of course I saw the wonderful advertisements on the up on the slideshow in service and through Facebook.
Yeah.
So well advertised position.
Oh, wonderful. Glad to hear that. Okay. Good job, Morgan.
But yeah, so I applied for it, and it wasn't finalized until the second to last day of school that I would get the job. And so it was just really a testament of God's faithfulness, where he showed me, you can trust me, and I need you to let go of this one.
Yep.
And it was, at the last minute, but that he did show himself faithful.
Wow.
So.
I think that's one of the most trying to, because I've been in a similar situation where it is, you feel that it is time to, like, the season is over, in whatever it is, work capacity or even ministry capacity. But you don't have that clear, distinct, okay, well, this is the next step. So it's trusting the Lord almost in the silence of what's next. That is it's a faith building thing, but it can be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
I know when Amy and I came here to Lynchburg and I was going to Liberty, it was kind of like, we don't know what's next. I mean, I know I'm like here and I'm doing some school stuff, but I don't know. And there was job needs and all that kind of stuff. But the Lord, as you said, is faithful. And I'm glad to hear that you're on the team now.
Yes.
And so, having been in kids ministry and understanding exactly where you're at in many ways, how is it getting on the team and kind of learning the ropes? How are things going?
Yeah, it has been a big transition for me from classroom teaching, but I am really excited about the opportunities, and I'm really excited about the team. Even like we're saying, going back to Mr. Tony and Regina, they have been serving so faithfully so long, and I'm really so honored to be on a team with them and be able to glean from their wisdom.
Yeah.
And yet then to also have Joshua now, who we were friends in high school.
Oh, that's cool.
So that kind of connection. I just am so excited about our team and the diversity there and kind of being able to come together and work with that team. And I'm also, very excited about just the job. I am a detail-oriented person, and I like problem solving and kind of figuring out, organizing things. So it's been fun kind of jumping into that stuff this summer already. So
that's awesome. And no doubt that position needs that kind of detail. So can you kind of summarize what this position is, just for those who may be wondering what exactly you're doing?
Yes. So I'm the Kids Ministry Volunteer Coordinator. So my job is primarily centered around volunteers.
Yeah.
So that includes recruiting volunteers. It also includes training volunteers, working out the schedule for volunteers, since we have so many, different classes, different age levels, different time commitments, different hours. So I handle the scheduling part, and then also just care for the volunteers, kind of being a point person, making sure that that no one's getting burned out, that they have the support that they need for what they're doing. And then I also serve as part of the 4-member kids ministry team for when it comes to, just kind of working together as a team, planning events, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And I think, really what you are doing and kind of taking on, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. We have hundreds of volunteers in kids ministry. And it used to be, and this is kind of a new thing we're trying. It used to be you'd have your nursery person, and even back in the day, you have a nursery person, and then you'd have the preschool person, then you have the elementary person.
Right.
And then Zana kind of pulled in the nursery and preschool and was overseeing all of that. But now it's like you have all volunteers, right?
Right. Yes. And it is a lot of work, but I think it's also really exciting because we've already realized in just a few weeks kind of the mindset shift for the people on the kids ministry team. Because instead of, this family said that they can't serve in preschool anymore because they want to move up with their elementary age children. That's no longer competition of, oh, you stole my volunteer. Instead it's like, we want each of our volunteers to be in the right spot for them and for their family. And so it kind of helps having one person to zoom back and see big picture and see, okay, these are where our needs are, and we're happy to put where needed and where it fits and where the volunteer feels most comfortable. So even that aspect has been exciting to see. But it is a transition. We are still working on that.
Yeah. Well, that is a great perspective, and I think you're right. That is so very helpful to be able to, because you have so many moving pieces, to be able to kind of step back and see that bigger picture. And I am a little bit jealous of the team you guys have. I think it's really exciting to see you guys at work and what the Lord is doing, and I'm excited for the future of kids ministry. You have just this long-term investment of, like we were talking about with Tony and Sue, and their life poured out in this place over so many years. And Regina as well, just being a huge part of kids ministry. And so they're continuing, and then we have kind of this fresh resurgent of fresh faces with you and with Joshua, and your talents, gifts, and abilities now kind of coming alongside that. And it really is just an exciting time in kids ministry.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited too.
Yeah. And so I guess the question is, if people are they're wanting to get involved in kids ministry, because you're the volunteer person now.
Yes.
What is the kind of the best way for them to do that? Because the needs are always there.
Right.
They may change as far as the the scramble for necessity. Like right now, I think you have some teachers that are needed and things of that nature. But how could people kind of take those steps?
Yes. And at the beginning of the school year is a great time to jump in. I would go to the volunteer page on the HBC website, and there's a form there. That would be the best, most direct way where you can go ahead and fill out, if there's certain hours that you can or can't serve and what your preferences are as far as, age or how many times a month you're looking to serve, those kinds of things. You can also just reach out to me directly if you're for some reason you're having trouble finding it, or just to let me know you're interested, or if you just want to ask, hey, what are the greatest needs right now at this point in time? And I'm happy to fill you in on that and get you connected.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I tell you what, there is, and yes, I'm a little biased, but there really is just no better place to serve than in Adventure Kids here at Heritage. Yes. It is such a joy, and hopefully others will see that. Now, on the horizon, when this airs, we're recording before Grace Bible Camp, but Grace Bible Camp is on its way, and now you've been a part of Grace Bible Camp for how long?
I realized that I kind of lost count. So I think I was there as a camper 3 years, and then took a little break, and then was there as a junior counselor 3 or 4 years. Wow. And I don't remember how many years I've been as a senior counselor. But yeah, it's so good though.
It is so good. And it's kind of a family affair for you guys, right?
Yes. So. My sister has also been a junior counselor, and my mom in the last couple of years has stepped in and has also been there, which is great.
Yeah. It's always fun having them there. And what's neat, and a lot of people don't realize this, is that you do have a lot of families that serve together there.
Yes.
So you guys, the Boardwines, of course, have been there forever, and they all serve a lot of times as a full family.
Yeah.
My family is going to be there, and so unfortunately I can't make it this year, but
we will miss you.
It's very sad. But I will have to come up and see it, because it's still the best place to be.
Yeah.
So it is really neat to see so many families serving and being part of all the joy that is Grace Bible Camp.
Yeah,
so,
it definitely is.
Looking forward to hearing the stories, even though I won't be there, and I know it'll be a blessing for so many kids.
Yeah.
So, well, I tell you what, for those who may be listening, and maybe, again, I kind of go back to the volunteer thing, because you're a big part of that now. What would your message be to those who maybe are considering volunteering, but maybe on the edge of, I don't know, should I not? What would be your message to them, or some encouragement to them?
Yeah. I guess the first question would be, are they considering serving or not serving at all? Or are they considering serving or not serving in children's ministry specifically?
Gotcha.
If you're not serving at all, I would definitely encourage you to examine that and just think about, are you satisfied? Are you really being a part of the body? And I've actually talked to a few people who've said, yeah, I realized I was dissatisfied in church, and then when I started serving, it fixed the problem.
Yeah.
So I would encourage that, first of all. If you're not sure if kids ministry specifically is the right place for you, I would definitely still encourage you to reach out. We are more than happy to have you observe in a classroom first, so that you can kind of see how it goes. If you're a parent, we can use help through the parent serving squad, or different ways. Sometimes we'll recruit parents just to fill in a couple times in a semester. And so maybe by doing that, you might realize, I'd like to be on a regular rotation.
Yeah.
So I think trying it, or being willing to get scheduled just to observe or help one time would be a big help to see if that's the best fit for you.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we have open hands. We want each person to be in the right spot for them.
Exactly. And I appreciate that heart. So how can people be praying for you specifically in this new position, and kind of what's going on in kids ministry? How can they lift you up?
Right. Can pray the Lord sends laborers into the harvest. Which truly, though, on a serious note, there is just a lot of stress for me right now on Sunday mornings, just to make sure that we're basically covered, so that I can go and worship as well. So they truly can just pray for volunteers, for the right people. And then I think also for myself to have a balance of, I I am very detail oriented. I have my schedule.
Yep.
I'm the organized type. And yet this job is also very much oriented towards caring for volunteers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think so praying that I would have the right balance of that as I'm interacting with each volunteer, that I wouldn't let the organized side kind of push out the caring side at times, which can be tempting if they're in a pinch. But at the same time, keeping in balance when, okay, this is an organizational thing that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay, how can I communicate this clearly? So those two are probably the biggest areas I'd appreciate prayer in.
Awesome. Well, I would encourage those who are listening, again, be in prayer for Chelsea and the kids ministry team as they continue to learn and grow and kind of gel together, and just pray for God to work mightily through them. And so, Chelsea, thank you for what you do there.
Thank you.
And before you go, though, I've got my deck of random questions, and so we're going to see which question you get today. Let's see. Oh, well, this is kind of a fun one. What are you most excited about right now? It doesn't have to be ministry related. It can be something else. What are you most excited about right now?
It probably is Grace Bible Camp.
Great.
In all honesty.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to just the good fun that we have. There's so much good fun, but also I really am blessed by the chapel time that Tony and Sue put on. I cry during the worship, like it's kids worship, and it's always, I feel, meant for me even. I'm a strong believer in what is good for children is good for adults.
Amen.
And so it's good for kids.
There is something so special, and I know it's one of those things, like if you haven't experienced Grace Bible Camp, then it's hard to put it into words.
Right.
But it is one of those places where you go and you just love it. I mean, and the thing about Tony and Sue and what they do, it is so simple. And some people may say it even as old school, but it is so wonderful. And it is balm for the soul. And the truth that's there and the worship, I agree with you. It's one of those things where you can't help but just be invigorated by it.
Yeah. And I'm excited for time with the kids.
Yep.
Again, I haven't been like on a regular rotation serving in kids ministry in a while. So other than special things like Grace Bible Camp and now the coordinator position, that's a little bit removed from the classroom. So even to make connections again with the kids at our church, to have that bond. And I know for me, when I was a camper, that was a big thing for me, feeling like I knew Miss Sue, and I knew Miss Ruby, and they knew me. And so I think those connections are also really important, then carrying on into the year.
Agreed.
And so I'm excited for that too.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, to that end, another prayer is obviously this will air after Grace Bible Camp, but just pray that the fruit from that experience will just have long-term effects.
Yes, absolutely.
I know I've had the joy of being able to sit across from a kid who heard the message, heard the gospel, and responded there at camp in a very profound and really kind of surprising way, even confessing of his hypocrisy. I mean, we're talking like a fifth grader here who's saying these things, and so be praying for God to just continue to work even past that time. So. Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for being here. So excited to hear what God is doing, and excited to see what He's going to do through you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, this has been another episode of the Alongside Podcast. For details on Alongside, including show notes, past episodes, and more, you can visit alongsidepodcast.com. Also, wherever you may be listening to this, make sure you leave a 5-star review so others can hear about Alongside and be encouraged in their faith. I'm your host, Mike Crump. Thanks for listening, and we hope that you'll join us next time as we continue to come alongside other followers of Christ in order to have thoughtful conversations about the gospel, culture, and the church.